Hello everyone, welcome to the new module of Reading Comprehension. In this particular module, we are going to continue our process of learning how to deal with specific subjects. And in this particular module, we are going to take up technical passages. When I say technical passages, it means more on the technical lines, more on the engineering lines, say on the lines of manufacturing, automotive, the technical to the core industry is what the technical passages refer to. Now, before we move ahead at what should be the strategy, let's try to read a passage and start off to understand that what exactly a technical passage constitutes of. Please note that there will be 5 frames of video in which this passage is going to come on your screen. So with every frame, take pause this video so that you can read the passage. So starting off, you can pause the video over here and read the passage. You can pause the video over here and read the passage and then play to move to the next frame where the passage will be continued. The passage is continuing. You can again pause the video and read the passage's second part. You can pause the video and read the second part of the passage, which is there on your screen. Again pause the video and read the third part of the passage. You can pause the video and read the third part of the passage. Again pause the video and read the fourth part of the passage. Pause the video and read the fourth part of the passage. Pause the video and read the last part of the passage. Pause the video and continue reading the concluding part of the passage. Now, once you have read the passage, in case you are still to read, you can just go back and pause the video and continue reading the passage and come back to this frame. Now, whenever we get a passage which is, say, more of a technical in approach, or say technical subject is what it comprises of, then your purpose or say your objective or say your approach to solve that particular passage should not be to have a very deep dive understanding of each and every word which is written in the entire passage, but what you should be doing is breaking it down in different paragraphs and more than paragraphs, just divide it into 3 parts, that the starting part, the middle part and the concluding part of the passage, and try to understand that what does the starting part say, what does the middle part say, and what does the concluding part say. And after you understand what these different parts were saying, just try to summarize everything in 1 or 2 sentences so that you can remember it very well. And to do that, you don't need to understand the technical terms. Even without knowing the technical terms, you can easily do it. Just remember the core messaging of the starting part, the middle part, and the concluding part. Apart from that, you should just know that what is the tone of the paragraph or say the tone of the passage, whether it is descriptive, whether it is appreciative, whether it is criticizing. In this particular passage which you just read, the tone was explanatory or descriptive. Now, the third thing which we discussed was what was the purpose of the passage. So if you just understand the starting part, the middle part, and the concluding part lines, you will understand the purpose of the passage was to describe the evolution of three theories of the formation of solar system. That's it. That was as simple as this. The nebular hypothesis, the protoplanet hypothesis, and the different kind of hypotheses were used. But the major purpose was to describe the evolution of the 3 theories of formation of the solar system. That was the primary purpose of the passage. In case you do not agree, you can just go back in the video and have a relook at the passage, reread it, and come back. to this particular part of the video so that we can move ahead and solve certain questions. So whenever I have a technical passage, my approach, the algorithm which I need to follow is just divide the entire passage into three parts. Know what the starting part is doing, know what the middle part is doing, know what the concluding part is doing. So fourth thing which I need to know is the tone of the passage, and the last thing which I need to know is the primary purpose of the passage. If I know these five things, I would be able to solve each and every question from a technical passage correctly without even knowing the technical terms. Let us see how. Let's move to the question number 1. The question number 1 says the passage is primarily concerned with which of the following? And I am pretty sure when we identified the previous 5 things which we just discussed, I can very easily say that my correct answer is option number C, which covers the entire flow of the essay. Option B and D, they were starting with words like criticizing, proving, which were very against the tone of the author. The author's tone is explanatory, where he would never use the words like criticizing, proving, etc. And hence, even on the basis of the tone, I could reject those options. However, it was very easy in the passage to identify the purpose, which we did pretty early when we were talking about the 5 things which I need to understand in the technical passage. If I could do that, I could very easily mark the answer of this question, which is option number C, because C is the only option which covers the flow of the entire essay. Moving to question number 2. According to the nebular hypothesis, a protoplanetary disk formed in the early stages of the solar system because. You can go back to the passage, read the part which talks about nebular hypothesis, and come back to this question with your answer. And you can also pause the video at this stage to read the question easily, taking your time, read the options taking your time, go back to the passage, come back with your answer so that we can move ahead with the solution part. Now, the key to such questions is to pay a very detailed attention to what the question is asking. Because again, if you would see, this question is more of a cause and effect type, and I could say that the question is asking the cause of the protoplanetary disk. So usually for every cause and effect question, there is one option which is a trap, there is one option which is like very close coming to the actual answer and is usually a trap for you. So our purpose is to avoid that trap. Now you will find this particular sentence written in the passage. When the cloud reached a critical mass, it collapsed under its own gravity. The resulting angular momentum would have morphed the nebula into a protoplanetary disk. So the cause is the angular momentum for the gravitational collapse. Now, I just needed to go to the nebular hypothesis paragraph in the passage, read this line, which was exactly talking about the protoplanetary disk, and I would read directly that the resulting angular momentum would have caused this. The resulting angular momentum. So angular momentum is the cause, which goes well with my answer choice B, and hence option number B is my correct answer. Now, C is an effect of the protoplanetary disk, so be careful of just performing a word search and finding correlated terms when a question asks for a cause and an effect. Remember that there is going to be a tricky option, and in this particular question, option number C was the tricky option, which was coming close to option number B, but I did avoid the trap because I did go back to the passage. I remembered where the nebular hypothesis was being discussed, and I just read that direct statement which mentioned angular momentum as the cause of the effect which was resulting into a protoplanetary disk. Let's have a look at the question number 3 from the passage. Which of the following discoveries, if true, would best support the protoplanet hypothesis that the temperature difference is responsible for the different sizes of planets on either side of the frost line? Pause the video, reread the question, reread the options, go back to the passage, come back with your answer, and play the video again to know the solution. Now see, now the protoplanet hypothesis is where the conclusion of the given passage lies, and this particular hypothesis was discussed in the last part of the passage, so you may have read the last part of the passage in case you went back to read the passage. Now, if you would read, you would understand that the portion that pertains to the temperature difference suggests that the inner planets would be composed of dense elements with high melting points and the outer elements with the gaseous elements. To strengthen that hypothesis, my answer should be consistent with the statement given in the passage, which says planets close to the sun are similar to one another and planets far from the sun are close to one another. This is something which is directly mentioned in the last part of the given passage, and hence my correct answer would be revolving around this statement, and the only option which goes along with these line mentioned in the passage is option number C, and hence option number C is my correct answer. You can go back and have a look. The core of the Earth and the core of the Mars are found to be comprised of the same mix of chemical elements. A nearby star is found to be orbited by 6 planets. The cores of Saturn and Jupiter are found to each contain at least 5 chemical elements not found in the other. This is talking about the dissimilarity. Saturn and Jupiter, they are close to each other. They should be similar. Again, Saturn and Mercury, they are pretty far from each other and hence they cannot be composed of same materials. So the only option which goes that when the two planets are close by, they are expected to be formed of same mixtures. It is option number C, and hence option number C is my correct answer when it comes to question number 3. And that easy was it. I just needed to identify the line planets close to the sun are similar to one another and the planets far from the sun are close to one another. As simple as this identification in the last part of the passage, and I was through with my answer. So despite not knowing the technical terms of the planetary system, despite not knowing the hypothesis, despite not knowing the technical details of the hypothesis, I could have solved this technical passage by just understanding the primary purpose of the passage and by identifying certain specific lines mentioned in the hypothesis description in the different parts of the passage. That is how I need to solve a technical passage given to me with almost 100% accuracy, without falling into the trap of a close option. With this, we come to the end of this module. We'll meet again in the next module. Thank you, everyone.